Long ago, in the heart of the great savannah, where the golden grass swayed like ocean waves and acacia trees stood tall against the burning sun, there lived a young girl named Nyoka. She was the daughter of a humble hunter, yet her heart was as fierce as the lion and her spirit as free as the wind. Nyoka was unlike other children in her village. While the girls learned to weave baskets and fetch water, she preferred to track the footprints of gazelles, climb trees to see the world from above, and listen to the whispers of the wind. Her father Mosi often shook his head at her wild ways, but deep down he admired her courage. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and red, an old woman arrived at the village. Her back was bent with age, and her eyes held the weight of many years. She was known as Mama Osai, the storyteller. The villagers gathered around the fire to hear her tales, and that night she spoke of the legendary Serpent King who lived deep within the forbidden forest. "The Serpent King," she whispered, "is no ordinary creature. He is as large as 10 men, with scales that shine like the stars and eyes that burn like fire. It is said he guards a treasure hidden for centuries, a treasure that brings wisdom and power beyond measure. But beware, for he does not suffer the foolish or the greedy." Nyoka listened with wide eyes. Something deep within her stirred. What if she could find the Serpent King? What if she could prove that she was more than just a hunter's daughter? That night, as the village slept, Nyoka gathered her spear, a gourd of water, and a handful of dried meat. Under the watchful gaze of the full moon, she set out for the forbidden forest. The journey into the forest. The journey was treacherous. Thick vines coiled like snakes around the trees, and unseen creatures rustled in the shadows. Owls hooted, and distant roars echoed through the night. But Nyoka pressed on, her heart pounding with excitement and fear. After hours of walking, she reached the heart of the forest. A massive tree, older than time itself, stood before her. Its roots twisted into the ground like the arms of a giant, and at its base lay a dark, gaping cave. "This must be it," Nyoka whispered. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air was cold and the silence was heavy. Her footsteps echoed as she walked deeper. Suddenly, a low hiss filled the air. A pair of glowing red eyes appeared in the darkness. The ground trembled, and from the shadows emerged the Serpent King. His scales shimmered like molten gold, and his forked tongue flickered like lightning. "Who dares disturb my slumber?" His voice was deep, shaking the very walls of the cave. Nyoka stood her ground. "I am Nyoka, daughter of Mosi, and I seek your wisdom." The Serpent King studied her, his fiery eyes unblinking. "Many have come seeking wisdom or riches, but few have returned. Why should I grant you what you desire?" Nyoka swallowed her fear. "I do not seek riches, only knowledge. I wish to be more than what the world expects of me." The great serpent was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Very well, but first you must pass my 3 trials. Only those with true courage and wisdom may succeed." The 3 trials. The first trial was the trial of strength. The Serpent King led Nyoka to a boulder twice her size. "Move this stone from its place," he commanded. Nyoka pushed and heaved, but the rock would not budge. Sweat dripped from her brow. Then she remembered something her father once said: "Strength is not only of the body, but of the mind." She looked around and saw a fallen tree branch. Using it as a lever, she wedged it under the boulder and pressed down with all her weight. The stone rolled aside. The Serpent King nodded approvingly. "You have passed the first trial." The second trial was the trial of fear. The Serpent King led Nyoka into a dark tunnel. "Walk through without looking back," he instructed. Nyoka stepped inside. The darkness was thick, and whispers filled the air. The voices taunted her, calling her by name, warning her to turn back. Cold fingers seemed to brush against her skin. Fear clawed at her heart, but she kept moving forward. She clenched her fists and remembered her purpose. After what felt like an eternity, she emerged into the light. The Serpent King was waiting. "You have conquered fear," he said. The third and final trial was the trial of truth. The Serpent King looked deep into Nyoka's eyes. "What is it that you truly seek?" Nyoka hesitated. She had thought she sought wisdom, but now she realized the truth. "I seek to know myself," she said. to understand who I am beyond what others see. The Serpent King smiled, revealing his gleaming fangs. Then you have already found your treasure. The return. With that, the Serpent King shed a single golden scale and placed it in Nyoka's palm. This is a gift, a reminder of what you have learned. Use it wisely. Nyoka returned to her village before dawn, her heart full of new understanding. She no longer needed to prove herself to anyone. She had already proven herself to herself. Years passed and Nyoka became a great leader, known for her wisdom and bravery. She never revealed the full story of her journey, but those who looked closely could see the golden scale she always carried, a symbol of the trials she had faced and the truth she had found. And so, the legend of Nyoka and the Serpent King lived on, whispered in the winds of the great savannah, passed from generation to generation.